having me. And I didn't do a presentation just because 5 minutes is short and I didn't want to bother trying to fight sharing my screen. So I just wanted to come in and share a little bit of information about the program. So the Child Care Subsidy program, I've been working with them now for going on 3 years. So it's been a joy to see the students this year with COVID has been just such an interesting transition and just a different experience in the program. So what the Child Care Subsidy program does, just for those who aren't aware, we offer 75% coverage of child care tuition for student parents who are low income. And so they can fill out an application as long as they meet the criteria of the program. I've not had a wait list, and this year our numbers are a little bit lower just due to COVID and people feeling apprehensive about putting their young children in care. So that has been good because I haven't had to turn anybody away, which is always a nice thing, not to have a wait list and not have to tell people we can't help them. So as long as they meet the criteria, I have been able to approve anybody who's applied. So we offer 75% coverage. The family is responsible for that additional 25%. And the way that our grant is funded, so half of it is funded through a grant from the Department of Education, and then half is funded through the student initiated fees supported by the different branches of government. And so what we have done is we have allowed families to select a child care center that meets some minimum requirements through state licensing and things like that, so that it's a center that they have chosen that is the right fit for their family, which I think has helped, especially in the time of COVID. I did have some families who were in centers and they didn't feel comfortable that they weren't following proper guidelines. And I've had just kind of an open dialogue with all of the families that I'm happy to switch that enrollment for them if they find a center that they feel more comfortable with. And then also the 2 centers on campus, because they didn't open till August when the semester started back up. They had some openings because families had transitioned and people working from home and changes like that. So it did open some spaces at those campus centers, which is more convenient for students who are on campus. So I had some students who switched from community-based centers into those centers. And I've just worked really closely with them and making sure that transition happened pretty smoothly. And then my work this year has been a little bit more intense with actually building the relationship with the childcare centers, just because, again, I want to know the policies and procedures, and I want to know that centers that I'm working with are following the proper guidelines and things for COVID guidelines and regulations that are put out through the CDC and through the state licensing department. So that's been just a bigger part of my job this year, is making sure that the centers that I'm saying, hey, I have student parents at this center, that they're following those things, and that student parents have been following and working with those. So that's been good. I actually just submitted my annual report for 2019-2020 to the Department of Ed. So that was exciting. They, everything was accepted through that. So that's always good. It's always a big, ordeal to submit all of the documentation for the grant from them. So that was good. So that just went in, and then we're in our window for rewriting our grant it's a 4-year cycle grant through the Department of Ed. So we're in the process of looking at that and what that will look like for the next grant cycle. So yeah, so it was exciting. Just some really fun numbers, just because I know you guys sometimes like data. I had 20 students who graduated last year out of the program. So there were 7 who earned their bachelor's degrees and 12 that earned either a master's or a doctoral degree, and then 1 who got a certificate from the university. So that was really exciting for them. Even amid COVID, they were able to have those milestones. Were able to stay there. So as soon as childcare centers reopened, so I had some who opened in May, some who opened in June, and kind of trickle effect throughout the fall. All of the centers obviously were closed in March and April. from COVID, whatever that date was in March through April. So there was I was not offering funding, obviously, if the children weren't in care. But then as soon as they started opening back up, I started that process again. So, and I've just had a rolling, what I'm calling a rolling enrollment. So there's not really a hard, fast deadline. So if people start to feel comfortable, it's just kind of a constant trickle in of applications for the fall semester, as well as then for the spring semester, just as soon as families are feeling comfortable getting their kids back into care. So, yeah.
All right, and with that, are there any questions for Cheryl? Chair Jordan?
Hi, Cheryl. Sarah Jordan at large. Nice to see you again. Hope all is well. I know last year you guys did the coffee chat in the spring on Zoom. Is there any like hopes, or is there any other programming events that you guys plan on doing like this year that UPUA can support or help you guys out with?
COVID has really put a damper on a lot of things, because even if we get together, essentially we're wearing masks. So my committee and I have talked about doing some sort of like just kind of a coffee hour. I've sent out a couple things to the students, and I haven't had any who seemed really interested in it. So I think I'm going to switch and just start offering like virtual office hours, where if they want to just get on and talk. So that's something that now that everyone's back in full swing and they're hopefully either back in their apartments or whatever, a little bit more of a normal routine now that people are back where they are. So I'm going to start offering those, and that way then they're just kind of like open hours if people want to get together. Because one of the answers from the survey was that they were looking for more ways to connect with, not necessarily with me, but with other people who also have students on campus. So that was one way that the committee this year, instead of hosting like some sort of event, we talked about having some sort of just kind of a social hour for other people who have kids, but it's hard to find a time that works for families who are, who have small children, who are also in school and those kind of things. So I think I'm just going to start offering a couple different times throughout the week, where if they want to just get together and have conversations about what's going on. And then I'm working with my IT person to offer some of the resources that we had talked about doing in those coffee talk hours at our committee last year, and offering those resources online. So having stories for the families to get onto. So I just have to go through some processes of getting approval to get some of that stuff up online, just because some things are obviously copyrighted and some things like that. So I'm working with my IT to get that going. So hopefully we'll have an online resource for them so they can go to one single place if they're looking for different components.
Representative Bose?
Hi, Cheryl. Erin Bose at large. Thank you so much for coming in to speak with us. I had a question kind of surrounding your collaboration at all with any of some more of the educational offices on campus. So for example, within Faculty Senate, we've been hearing a lot about the impact that remote learning has had, of course, on students that are having to also provide childcare and child support. So I'm just wondering that with remote learning, has there been any collaborations that you've had within some of the educational offices and learned any interesting things there?
So I've had a couple offices reach out to me just looking to see if there were additional resources needed. So there was one department that's looking at setting up kind of, I guess they have a family who's looking to do like an endowment for student parents. So it would be similar, like kind of a different avenue. So I've had some reach out in that respect. There is just lots of conversations that are happening, not any in particular with Faculty Senate members, but just different things on resources that can be utilized for parents. And as a parent who had my children at home with me for a long time this fall and trying to educate elementary school kids while working, it is definitely, it's something that I think is very real for everybody. And I think trying to have open conversations about that is really good. And so I think one of those ways, we're looking at those resources and different things that you can do and trying to ease some of that. And, kids who aren't school age, who are at home, what are some things that parents can do for them as opposed to just sitting them in front of a television? And so really, I think the two childcare centers on campus and myself have been talking a lot about resources and having like a resource center and something where people can go to get that information or to find other people who might be able to create like little like neighborhood pods where you feel safe that your kids can play with those kids, even though they're not maybe in care, and try to help create some of those bubbles. So I know we did some of that, especially before the childcare centers opened last summer. And it was a little easier because you could set up like meet at the park dates and kids were outside. Winter has really put a damper on a lot of that, unfortunately, just because you're then in somebody else's house and some people don't feel comfortable with that. So it's really trying to find that comfort level, but there are lots of great conversations going on across campus. And like I said, for me, I've been working a lot with the childcare centers and trying to reach out to some of the community centers that might have different opportunities and might have bigger spaces. You know, there's some childcare centers that are in places that have gymnasiums. So like, what is the possibility of using those for, you know, play dates or group meetings that would allow them to meet in person, but have more space instead of being in somebody's house. So yeah, so we're looking and working on some of that stuff currently.
All right, are there any other questions? We have a little bit of time left. All right, seeing no other questions, Cheryl, thank you for coming in and speaking to us. Our meetings do run kind of long, so feel free to hop off. I know you took the time out of your Wednesday night to speak to us, but again, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you guys so much. I am going to hop off. I have some little guys I need to get to bed, but I do appreciate you guys inviting me to join you. And if anybody has questions, feel free. You can always email me or anything like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All righty. We will keep moving down our agenda with the second special presentation by Nyla Holland, who is the Black Caucus president. Welcome, Nyla. Again, you'll have 5 minutes to speak and then 10 minutes for questions, but we're very happy to have you.
Thank you for having me, and especially thank you to President Mckay for inviting me to speak to you all. I am going to share my screen to help me kind of keep my place. Okay. There we go. So I am Nyla Holland. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the president of the Penn State Black Caucus. And I'm just going to give an overview of who we are, what our structure is, and what we've been up to this year. So we are the umbrella organization for all Black students and student organizations at University Park campus. We aim to promote and protect the safety and well-being of Black students, provide, educate, bring awareness, and serve the overarching minority community through social and political means. We were founded in 1967 as the Frederick Douglass Association. After that, for 2 to 3 years, we were known as the Black Student Union before becoming Black Caucus in 1972. Here's our executive board. So right now, I believe we have 11 people. So we're fairly small. Executive board, we have a general body that's made of active due-paying members who meet every 2 weeks with our general body. They're welcome to work with us on initiatives. We have discussions, as well as we delegate them to visit the other organizations under our umbrella. And we also have socials and get-togethers with them. Another branch, I guess, of our organization, we have a council called the Black Leadership Council that aims to serve the Black community through the means that are on the screen. We meet tri-weekly, and it has currently 27 organizations, so we grew a bit this past year. This includes the national, the Black Greek organizations, as well as the NAACP, CSA, ASA, Student Minority Advisory and Recruitment Team, and Queer and Trans People of Color. We also have a number of liaison organizations who aren't directly underneath us because they may be affiliated with the university, but still we keep in the loop and we work with on a regular basis. We have a number of initiatives that we've been working on, especially since this past summer, including the Code of Conduct Task Force, which I co-chaired to, I guess, address how hate speech is handled within the university. We also have one of our members on the Select President Commission for Race, Bias, and Community Safety, as well as on the Task Force on Policing and Communities of Color. We also work with and support the 320 Coalition, which works to get justice for the murder of Osage Osagi, as well as promote the movement of Black Lives for Black lives within State College. We have a number of university and community relationships that we work with on a regular basis, which includes the other caucuses, UPUA Caucus, Latino Caucus, and Indigenous People Students Association. We meet regularly with the university administration. We work with the PRCC, the AFAM department, people within the borough, whether that be the borough leadership or activist groups within the area, UPUA, and the African American alumni organizations. So the conversations we have with them are all a bit different. So from advocating for more Black faculty and the retention of Black students, to how can we work better with the other caucuses to serve the overarching minority community. These are all kind of things that we are constantly balancing and trying to figure out how we can help and support our allies. So for programming, we hold a weekly Sancofas, which I'm going to head to right after this, on any different topic every Wednesday at 7. And we get those topics coming in from our general body, what they would like to talk about. We also hold 2 different weeks during the year, a week of programming in the last week of the fall semester, as well as the spring semester, with the fall one being Ashe Week, where we have the Ashe Awards, which is the largest event for students of color on campus. It welcomes over 500 students. It's a superlative award show, as well as Not More Than Ever Week, which has Black graduation, Black Caucus games, which are modeled after the Disney Channel games, and other great things to bring the community together. And then here's just a picture of Black graduation. We have a number of committees that are constantly working, especially right now. Our Political Action Committee, UPUA Committee, Thon Committee, Communications Committee, which puts together our newsletter, The Drum, which is we have revitalized over the past few years, as well as the committees to put together Ashe Week and Now More Than Ever Week. And then fundraising in Sankofa, which put together our merch. So that's kind of that's my timer, but that's kind of an overview of our structure and everything that we do. That has been increased as this year has been very, we've been very active this year due to reasons that are obvious, but we've really been advocating and trying to expand and all of these things. So if you would like to reach out to us, here is our contact information. And also a lot of you, since the recent Zoom bombing, have been reaching out to wonder how can you further support us. So I do have a graphic here if you're interested in how to further support our organization, as well as other Black students on campus at this time. Yeah, I'm sorry, speaking so fast, but I guess questions.
Well, thank you, Nyla. Are there any questions? If so, please raise your hand. Chair Mishler?
Hi, Noah. My name's Adeline. So I guess I'll ask you, I'll say this. If you had 30 seconds, a Jumbotron in Beaver Stadium, what would you tell all of Penn State?
That's a great question. I feel as though I don't want to be that person, but I don't want to say anything. I feel like everything has already been said, and there's so many resources at people's disposal. I kind of just want to see action. We've been saying the things, we have statements all over. So if people care, they've already known, and if they don't care, then they don't want to. So I think for the work that we do, some people will get left behind. And I think we've been doing this work for over 50 years. So I don't feel like I have much to say. I'd rather, I guess, tell people where our meetings are and how to support us and what they can do to be in this work.
Representative Richardson?
Hi, thanks so much for coming in and speaking to us. I guess a similar sort of question, all of us here, or at least the most of us here, are representatives. What sort of actions would you encourage us as representatives to personally take, on a day-to-day basis, aside from informing ourselves, staying up to date on issues, knowing what's happening, and knowing sort of where we can assist, aside from our representative goals. In terms of our representative duties, like what sort of actions would you encourage us all to take?
You mean, so besides like informing yourself, besides that?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I would say there's a lot of spaces that you are in that other people, historically marginalized people, would not be able to be in those spaces. So bringing and I guess amplifying those voices into those spaces, not speaking over them, not taking credit for their work, but really advocating for them and being persistent about it. There's a lot of microaggressions or even attitudes towards kind of DEI or anti-racist work that are said in only white space, that are expressed in only white spaces that kind of aren't addressed. So I think it's being persistent and weaponizing and using that privilege that you have in order to really see change. And I think it's also calling out the tactics that are used to stall for change. So those mechanisms to make people wait, kind of diffusing responsibility for things, and also kind of revisionist history. So calling out all of those things as well. And I think this doesn't just go for you guys you all being representatives, but this goes for being classmates, being roommates, being neighbors, all of those things. You really need to be the change that you want to see, and feel free to take upon all of those questions. What can I do? There's 1,000 resources out there, so not always putting the labor on your friends of color to tell you what it is to be done. I think doing that research for yourself and committing to it all the way, not just when it's easy or it's convenient or there's people agreeing with you as well. I guess that's also just a slice.
Representative Bose.
Hi, Nyla. Erin Bose at large. Thank you so much for coming in. My question is kind of geared towards your time on the Code of Conduct Task Force. So something that I realized ever since the Code of Conduct Task Force and the Anti-Bias Commission is a lot of the times administrators will kind of use that as that's the way that Penn State's taking action, is just those two things. And I think that we all know here that the work in the commission is completely important and it needs to be followed through, but there's much more that we can do as a university. So I'm just wondering, from your leadership within the Code of Conduct Commission, is there anything that you wish could have been accomplished within that commission, and you think that the university should be taking on possibly alongside the proposals as well?
Good question. I think we did the best that we could with the circumstances. So we went into it understanding that task forces are often used as stalling tactics. How can we use this as an opportunity to kind of what's it called? Be different than, I guess, the norm or what people are used to. And we, oh gosh, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. With the Code of Conduct Task Force, I feel like we did the best that we could, trying to do things thoughtfully, but also quickly. And but I was having a conversation about kind of the gist of your question earlier. There's those two things, because I feel like it was influenced by them being led by mostly people of color, this kind of urgency and seeing the changes made. But where's the progress on the other I can't count, I guess 5 or 6 initiatives that were named. So I guess I'm interested to see where those are. Who are the leaders of those? How can people get involved with those? That includes like the well-being of people, well, of all students. Also with the mandatory class and mandatory training for all faculty members, I'd like to see more information on that front. But I think maybe down the line with more experience, I'll be able to say what I wish I could have done. I feel like we're still kind of in that mode, so I can't give a full answer.
All right, are there any other questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Nyla, for coming in. Again, feel free to stay, but also feel free to hop off and take your Wednesday night back. But again, we appreciate you coming in and speaking to us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. All right, we'll keep moving down the agenda. And next is a report by President Mckay.
Hi, everyone. I hope that you're doing well. I first want to thank Cheryl and Nyla for coming out tonight and all of their hard work helping adult learners here at Penn State, specifically student parents, I guess student parents as a whole, who aren't always adult learners, but as well as Black students find a home to celebrate their culture here at Penn State, as I think the university quite often fails to do. There were a lot of things that Nyla talked about tonight, amplifying students' voices, not speaking over others, doing the research and the labor yourselves instead of asking students of color exactly what you should be doing. That I think I would encourage everyone to take away tonight. Both those words, as well as her example in leadership. Nyla's really taught me a lot in terms of what it means to be a leader and help selflessly serve others. An absolutely phenomenal example of what I think it means to be a leader. So again, my sincerest thanks to both of them for coming out and talking tonight. Some really brief updates. Lexi and I met today to record a video address addressing the recent Zoom bombings occurring at University Park, which occurred as late as last night with the College of Belisario College of Communications. No, I messed that up somewhere. As well as at other places, including our Brandywine campus, as well as calling on the administration to take greater actions to protect our students in that midst. We've been in contact with the administration, just ensuring that they're aware of some of the actions that probably could be taken in terms of default settings on Zoom, as well as informing the student body about some, I guess, changes that hosts as of events can make. But ultimately, we want to make it clear to everyone that the onus shouldn't necessarily fall on students and students alone, especially students of color, to protect those who they are hosting events for, but rather quite a lot of it does come with default settings, which we can set that I hope will be taken following a lot of these incidents. And then just putting it on your radars, the Board of Trustees meets this week, which should be exciting. I'll let you know if anything comes of that. And then the Student Fee Board begins deliberations this week as well. So again, last week we had Nora and Claire come and talk about the Environmental Sustainability Fund, but if you have any fee board questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Lexi, Adeline, and Tony. And then also just on your radars, the ABTS met this past weekend to vote on some of the legislation that we discussed 2 weeks ago, just so that we'd had enough time to discuss it as the leadership team. Under the leadership, again, displayed by Speaker Zhang, we talked about some of the concerns we had regarding a resolution which could have put students who were studying in the United States, but who lived in China at potential risk when they returned home, because it directly opposed some of the really egregious actions which the Chinese government is committing. But at the same time, we are working with our various counterparts across the Big Ten to find some kind of a resolution which we can put through, acknowledging some of the, frankly, human rights violations that are happening over there, but also protect the safety and well-being of students when they come home. And obviously Speaker Zhang can touch more on that should he so like. I'll keep it brief today. That's all I have. I hope everyone's doing well and best of luck on midterms.
Are there any questions for President Mckay? All right, seeing none. First, I want to apologize for not turning on the auto transcription from the beginning. That's something I need to keep doing and just kind of make a habit. I know it helps out a lot of people and also just increases our accessibility as a meeting and as UPUA in general. First thing, and also kind of some repeats from President McKay's report, since we do a lot of things together, but same thing with Student Fee Board. We're finishing up hearings and then we will be beginning deliberations very soon. I'm excited for that, just to see where everything ends up going for the year 21-22 fiscal year. So if you have any questions with that process, please let Zach, Tony, or Adeline know. I also wanted to thank Speaker Zhang and Executive Director Hattie for setting up the UPUA Mindfulness and Empathy Workshop. I attended it last night, and I have to say it did give me a breath of fresh air and a little bit of peace for last night. I really hope there's another one to come, hinting at both Executive Director Hattie and Speaker Zhang to do it again. And I would love to see more turnout as well. As much as I was grateful to see a lot of leadership there, I would have loved if there was more UPUA reps there just to kind of engage. I will say it was something that helped me out a lot. It wasn't like, it was very much discussion based. And I think it also helps us utilize some practices we could use in our day-to-day lives. So again, I want to thank you both for that a lot. This Friday, Zach and I will be attending a meeting on the plans and details of the proposed spring commencement. As of right now, from the articles that have been released, they are planning for a spring 2021 commencement, planning it for it to be outside, but we will let you know if there are any details that we can disclose to you. You know, Zach and I are seniors. We are also really excited for this meeting, and hopefully there's productive conversations from this. And I know my fellow seniors are definitely feeling the same. I will also be attending the full board meeting this coming Friday. And again, we will provide any updates if there are any. Overall, that's honestly it from me. It was a pretty light week on top of everything that President McKay had mentioned. But if there are any questions, I shall take them. All right. Seeing none, we will now move on to liaison/affiliate reports. If you are a liaison or affiliate and you have a report, please raise your hand. Oh, before President McKay, if you want to add something.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I did forget to mention this Friday at 12 p.m., our very own Erin Brown, our Director of Sexual Misconduct, Sexual Assault and Misconduct Prevention, will be speaking at the Sustainability Showcase put on by the Council of Sustainable Leaders. You can find that, I believe it's pennstatecsl.com. If you type in CSL, it will come up. Yeah, really awesome opportunity to hear about some of Erin's awesome work and her perspectives on leadership and what we can learn from her experiences at Penn State. She was a winner of the Stand Up Award and has done a lot of really, really good work in the Schreyer Honors College. So be sure to come out and support Erin if you can.
Thank you, President McKay. And I'll go back. If there are any liaison or affiliates here, please raise your hand. All right, seeing no reports and seeing no old business, we will now move into a 5-minute caucus breakout. All right, we will now move into new business, starting with Bill 1715, financial support for name change vouchers. Chair Rodriguez, if you'd like to introduce this.
Najee Rodriguez, College of the Liberal Arts. I yield my time to Representative Robertson and Liscalzo.
Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday night. I'm absolutely elated to introduce Bill number 17-15, financial support for name change vouchers. Essentially, what this bill would do would it would create vouchers for the associated costs of students trying to change their name through Penn State Student Legal Services. So first, I'll talk a little bit about the current process and a breakdown of costs for getting a name change as it stands right now. And then I'll explain what type of costs would be covered by these vouchers and kind of how we got to the numbers we arrived at within the bill. And then finally, I'll discuss a little bit about how Student Legal Services would plan to implement these vouchers and a little bit about the future of this initiative. So yeah, right now, students who want to change their name through Student Legal Services can expect to pay approximately $250 to have that service entirely complete, which could be such a burden for really any student who is put into a situation where they might have to get their name changed. So a little breakdown of the cost itemization of this $250 is about $141 is going to filing fees, just generally filing fees. About $100 is going to publications fees, which, sorry, my screen just closed. Okay, so the $100 for publication fees typically covers the cost for publication in the Center Daily Times and the Center County Legal Journal, which is required for the name change to be official. The cost is kind of per word, so it's slightly different for each petition. And then along with the filing fee, going back to that, that also typically goes up a little bit at the start of every year. So that $141 is just an estimate. And then lastly, there's this thing called the judgment and a lien search, which is approximately about $12, but it can be more as Student Legal Services is required to submit to the court judgment and lien searches from all the counties where the petitioner lived in the past 5 years. So the student who wanted to change their name. And some students, particularly grad students or undergraduate students who are from out of state, have lived in quite a few different counties over the past 5 years. So that's the biggest potential cost variable out of the 3 items. Yeah, so this bill would essentially come in and cover the cost of an entire name change. Assuming the student who goes forward with the service does not receive any type of waivers already. So the cost is extremely variable based on your specific history with where you've lived, which journals you have to publish your name change in, the cost of the filing fee, the cost of the judgment and the lien search. And then also students could receive vouchers for the cost of any one of these itemization or these individual fees, more typically for the cost of the publication fee. So a fee approximately per petition without a publication waiver is about $250. With a publication waiver, it's about $160. So that's just a little bit of a breakdown of the cost that's prescribed into this bill right now. And through conversations about this cost and the expected usage of the vouchers with the Director of Student Legal Services, Kelly Mraz, and other representatives and members of the Justice and Equity Committee, we ultimately came to the numbers that you see in the bill. So we decided that we should cover the $250 cost for 20 students. Director Mraz projected that this is the upper limit of the number of potential students who would utilize the vouchers and who would typically seek a name change, and also counting in new marketing that is being planned within Student Legal Services as well for this service to different organizations on campus and different communities. So that 20 students times $250 per voucher yields a total of $5,000, which is a significant sum of student fee dollars, but I definitely believe it is worth the investment. Other universities and their respective SGAs also fund name changes for transgender, gender nonconforming students, or just really any student who wants to go about getting their name changed. And this is definitely the opportunity to establish this type of fund at Penn State. And so lastly, I just want to touch on the implementation and the future of this initiative. So Director Mraz and our working group within J&E, we worked out a way to feasibly and kind of easily implement the vouchers, so students can begin accessing the fund as soon as possible through one of the SLS's escrow accounts. So essentially, this $5,000 would go into an escrow account within Student Legal Services, and anytime a student would have to pull from that account, it would pull for the total of their name change. So for example, if a student were to receive a publication waiver, their cost could be about $160. That difference in $90 is not lost. It would just remain in the escrow account for future students. So we're actually, we're covering 20 students, but this could actually go a little bit more, a little bit less, just depending on like the variable nature of those costs. But we're expecting this to cover for more than 20 students just based on the numbers right now. Yeah, we also talked about how we were provided historical data kind of leading up to this project in terms of benchmarking. And so we were just kind of thinking far out, if this passed today, if this were established and it were successful, we could look back at this historical data, see how many students utilized these vouchers and who benefited from the service. And then we can even seek a more sustainable method of yearly funding, perhaps from Student Legal Services themselves, or perhaps even working with Student Fee Board in some capacity. Details to be figured out after we see how this goes. And yeah, I think that just about covers it. I can stand for questions, clarify any points that I skimmed over. And yeah, thank you, everyone.
All right. Are there any questions? Representative Snyder?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was any discussion that you could speak on like a retrograde refund, why or why not? And like if that was included in your conversation about the bill.
Yeah, would you just be able to clarify what you mean by retrograde refund?
Yeah, sorry. I mean like refunding students who have gone through Student Legal Services in the past to get this name change that might have stressed them, and if there was any consideration of offering like a partial refund for the students who went through this process before we passed this bill.
I think that's an excellent idea. That was admittedly not something that came up in conversation with Director Mraz, but that's something that I would love to follow up on and see about the feasibility of it. My initial thought is that we would just end up being able to cover the cost for students seeking name changes now and for students in the future. But I would love to follow up on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Richardson?
Real quick, I guess my question is, I think this is wonderful. I mean, I think this is something that we should absolutely, supply support for. How are we going to ensure, or is there like sort of a plan for ensuring that any student who goes through this process will, get these resources? Will this be like sort of a collaboration directly with Student Legal Services where like they sort of tell you like, hey, this is available, or will this be like more like focused around, outside PR and just like ensuring that students know?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I'd love to clarify. So in terms of which students can access these vouchers, it's coming from student fee dollars, so it's accessible to any student who would want to have their name changed. From speaking with Director Mraz, she mentioned how she is currently putting together an awareness campaign for the name change service. So not really right now about the vouchers, but that's something that could be included if this were to be passed tonight. That's going specifically to queer organizations on campus like QDPOC, Lion Pride, or yeah, LGBTQ Roundtable, formerly known as, and other organizations in which students would benefit from this process. So it's open to any student who would want to change their name. The attorneys who are working with Student Legal Services and who are working with these students to procure these name changes would make this information known to students when they meet. After they fill out an intake form, they're sitting down with an attorney and they're being told this voucher exists. It's funded by your student government. Here's a little bit of information about that. But outside of that environment, it is also being pushed primarily towards the transgender or gender nonconforming community at Penn State. Based on historical data, that's the group of students who mostly use this service. So we're planning an awareness campaign to help that community become more aware of this option at Penn State. And in regards to who's participating in those conversations about which organizations should we direct those campaigns to, I know Kelly has been working on a list of organizations, and she also mentioned that it can be incredibly collaborative moving forward. So I know I'm planning on maintaining direct contact with her and kind of seeing how this goes, if it were to pass and if it were to roll out, as well as just kind of following up within the realm of like justice and equity, maintaining that communication. And there are also a few of us in UPUA. I believe you have a seat as well, but on like the advisory board for student legal services. So we'd be able to follow up in that realm as well and really see how it's impacting the whole of that office on so many different levels, as well as how it's interacting with students on just like that personal level of being able to fund their name change.
Are there any other questions? All right, seeing no questions, is there any discussion? Representative Richardson?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just following up on the point I just made, in the question rather, definitely something that I encourage every single one of us here to support. As the sort of liaison to the student legal services for UPUA, this is definitely something that I think a lot of students will utilize. They tend to have a lot of people actually go and use that service, which I think is great. It's like free and available to all, well, not free, student fee funded, but still available to all of us. Yeah, can't speak highly enough of this, and I'm really excited to see how this gets utilized actually.
Chair Rodriguez?
Najee Rodriguez, College of the Liberal Arts. I just wanted to speak from the heart, like seeing the work that's been done by the committee and the wonderful work that's been done by our committee staffer, Ashley Bell, Representative Lascalzo, Representative Robertson. Thank you so much for really ensuring that there is justice and equity being perpetuated on campus, especially with the intersectionality that the committee has. You're definitely reinforcing the notion for years to come that this is what the UPUA should realign itself with in terms of fighting for these communities that have been long forgotten, especially communities that are affected and inflicted with certain financial concerns that we have the ability to help them with. So this is amazing. It's definitely a new initiative that will hopefully be established and institutionalized in student legal services if this advocacy will continue to do. So I'm so proud of the work. I'm so proud of seeing what this has come to. And I can't wait to see the support that it provides for transgender and gender nonconforming students at Penn State. Thank you all.
Representative Gangle?
Carter Gangle, at-large representative. I just wanted to say, as someone who's currently going through this process of changing their name, it really means a lot to students who are transgender and also those who are gender nonconforming on campus to be able to be referred to by their preferred name and to be able to have access to resources such as this if they aren't fortunate enough to have financial funds or have supportive families, and to be able to take this course of action and pass this bill would be a really big deal for, I think, most, if not all, transgender and gender nonconforming individuals. So thank you.
Representative Reynolds?
Reynolds, at large. I just want to restate what was said earlier and just add on personally. I am not a transgender student. I did have a name change though for personal and family reasons, and it has been very significant for me. And I would love it to know that every single student who does wish to have a name change to be more proud of their name and their personal identity has the opportunity to do so. So I do strongly encourage everybody to vote yes on this bill, and I'm very grateful that it was brought forward.
All right, is there any other discussion? All righty, seeing no other discussion, I will close the floor. With that being said, there will be a roll call vote because this is a bill. Speaker Zhang, when you are ready, you may start the roll call.
Arthur Kalor,
Yes.
Adeline Mishler,
Yes.
Alexander Wu,
Yes.
Amy Gary,
Yes.
Anna Taylor,
Yes.
Emery Round Sorensen,
Yes.
Blake Tolliver, Brian Schultz, Cameron McCogan,
Yes.
Kathy Minetti Zhao,
Yes.
Kara Flegel, Kara, Carter Gangle,
Yes.
Dan Risser,
Yes.
Emmanuel Almonte,
Yes.
Aaron Bose,
Yes.
Jarrell Gibbs, John Mark Miller,
Yes.
Joshua Reynolds,
Yes.
Kaylee Quinnen, Cara DeLucio,
Yes.
Kelly Snyder,
Yes.
Kyle Quinn,
Yes.
Lakin Meter,
Yes.
Lewis Richardson,
Yes.
Marie Meisner,
Yes.
Maddie McIntyre,
Yes.
Megan Dalo,
Yes.
Najee Rodriguez,
Yes.
Noah Robertson,
Yes.
Patricia Brunji,
Yes.
Rainier Foley Di Fiore,
Yes.
Reina Alexander,
Yes.
Refugio Lara, Ryan Lascalzo, Samantha Brown,
Yes.
Sarah Jordan,
Yes.
Siddhi Deshpande,
Yes.
Sophia Polillo,
Yes.
I vote yes. Sydney Gibbard,
Yes.
Sharu Shi,
Yes.
Yujin Zhang, and Yuna Choi. Okay, I got you, Brian. Was anyone else's name not called? All right, Kara Flegel. Gotcha. Anyone else?
Just double checking count and then I'll get back to you guys. All right, Bill 1715, financial support for name change vouchers, passes unanimously and specifically with a vote of 36-0. All right, we will keep moving on with Bill 1815, funding nurturing communities of care. Chair Jordan, if you'd like to introduce this.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Sarah Jordan at large. Huge shout out to the Department of Sustainability, more specifically Kelly and Vancy for writing this bill and bringing it here tonight. There's also special acknowledgements later. But just to speak on this a little bit, the purpose of this bill is to fund an event called Nurturing Communities of Care. It's a collaborative event between the UPUA, the Student Farm, and the Council of Sustainable Leaders as a part of their Sustainability Showcase series. So this event is going to take place on March 26th. We'll promote mindfulness, growing at home, and awareness of the student farm. So one of the speakers will teach students how to grow their own microgreens with the kits that will be distributed to students beforehand, what we are supplying, and the bill is kind of like funding tonight. So just if you want to scroll down, Stephen, if you can, to the chart, right there. The funding, which I will be amending tonight, about 634, will go towards purchasing supplies for the microgreen kits, which includes the soils and seeds, packaging materials, and the shipping costs. So prior to the event, the Department of Sustainability and General Assembly will partner with the student farm and the CSL to package and distribute the kits to those who have signed up for the event. And then the extra, which if they have extra, as they explained, those kits will be distributed on April 7th, which is a wellness day, focusing more on physical and environmental health. So that will go out shipping to people who may not be on campus on that day. And then, as mentioned, following COVID-19 protocols, the event itself will be virtual, but the only aspects of in-person will be the student volunteers helping with the spreadsheet to get the kits together, and then the I can't talk tonight. The distribution days. Wow, that was so bad. That's embarrassing. We're good. Which we'll set up to table outside, weather permitting, kind of stuff like that. But that's kind of the basis of it, really just promoting environmental and sustainable wellness and well-being. Huge shout out again to the whole Department of Sustainability, as well as Student Farm and the CSL. But with that, I will stand for any questions, and I know that Kelly is also here. So if anybody has any directed towards her, she will be happy to answer as well. But yeah.
All right, are there any questions for Chair Jordan or Executive Director Kelly? All right, seeing no questions, is there any discussion? Chair Jordan?
Sarah Jordan at large. Okay, sorry for my word vomit earlier, guys. We're back on it. I do have a few amendments to add to the bill. The first one is adding Cole Connolly in the special acknowledgement section. That's at the bottom, right there. Yes.
Is there a second? All right. Since that can be taken as friendly, can continue on.
Okay, and then the second one has to deal with the chart, the funding chart. So originally it was around 534. We are upping it. There was kind of some estimation when we did this the first time. So these are sent to Stephen, but I can read through them so everybody knows. In the first chart, sorry, I'm just gonna move this over. Plotting soil, that's going to be, instead of quantity one, it will be 2. And then, okay, thank you, Erin. The second one, or sorry, wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, plotting soil is still 1, and then red cabbage seed is now 2. Oh, yeah, it's up. Oh my God, sorry. It's up there. That's the new numbers. Sorry guys, it's been a long week. But okay, so that's the new chart. It's about $100 more as before, but that's because there was underestimation, stuff like that. But does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, is there any discussion on those amendments at all? All right, seeing no discussion, I'm gonna take general consensus with that and say that those will be added. Is there any other discussion in general? Chair Jordan?
Sorry, Sarah Jordan at large. One more just to emphasize, really huge shout out to the Department of Sustainability. They brought this bill to facilities, really well thought out and kind of just ready for it to get running. So I hope you all support this event, as well as, since the General Assembly will be able to help set up, please, if you can help set up this event, do so. We are just making a difference on campus. So yeah.
All right, is there any other discussion?
I have the type 40 for this, and also I forgot to do the one for the last one, but I can go back and change that retroactively. But the remaining type 40, should this pass, will be 95845.97.
Just gonna ask for a second. Just precedent. Thank you. Okay, and since it is the type 40, it is taken as friendly. Is there any other discussion? All right, seeing no other discussion, I am going to close the floor. Same thing as the last piece of legislation. Since this is a bill, it does require a roll call vote. So Speaker Zong, when you are ready, you may start the roll call.
Okay, Arthur Kalor,
Yes.
Adeline Mishler, Adeline,
Yes.
Alexander Wu,
Yes.
Amy Gary,
Yes.
Anna Taylor,
Yes.
Anne-Marie Round Sorensen,
Yes.
Blake Tolliver, Brian Schultz, okay, Cameron McColgan,
Yes.
Kathy Minetti Zhao, Kathy, Kara Flegel,
Yes. Yes.
sorry, you're good, Kara,
Yes.
okay, Carter Gangle,
Yes.
Dan Risser,
Yes.
Emmanuel Amante,
Yes.
Aaron Bowes,
Yes.
Jarrell Gibbs, John Mark Miller,
Yes.
Joshua Reynolds,
Yes.
Kaylee Quinnen, Cara DeLucia,
Yes.
Kelly Snyder,
Yes.
Kyle Quinn,
Yes.
Lakin Meter,
Yes.
Louis Richardson,
Yes.
Marie Meisner,
Yes.
Maddie McIntyre,
Yes.
Megan Dalo,
Yes.
Najee Rodriguez,
Yes.
Noah Robertson,
Yes.
Patricia Baranji,
Yes.
Rainier Foley Di Fiore,
Yes.
Reina Alexander,
Yes.
Refugio Lara, Ryan Lascalzo, Samantha Brown,
Yes.
Sarah Jordan,
Yes.
Sadie Deshpande, City, Sophia Palillo,
Yes.
I vote yes. Sydney Gibbard,
Yes.
Xiaoru Shi,
Yes.
Eugene Zhang, and Yuna Choi. Was anyone's name not called?
All right, Bill 1815, Funding Nurturing Communities of Care, passes unanimously, and specifically with a vote of 35-0. All right, and for line item C, it is Resolution 4915, support a student disability resources and a commitment to advocacy for students with disabilities. Chair Rodriguez, if you'd like to introduce this.
Najee Rodriguez, College of the Liberal Arts. Thank you all for being here tonight, first of all, since you have to be. I just will quickly explain kind of the work that's been done in this and everyone who participated to make this a reality. First things first, we started communications with the executive director, Leah Zimmerman of Student Disability Resources earlier in the year, where we started to begin the process of reconciling and ensuring that we establish a connection with each other as this advocacy organization, student government, and student disability resources. So just something very important to recognize, student disability resources serves about 4% of the undergraduate student population at University of Park, but in reality, that number is really closer to 20%. That really sets up the context for why this is so needed today. The accommodations that this office provides are for exams, alternative textbook and course materials, assistive listening devices, housing accommodations, assistance animals, accessible transportation, parking, and transitioning between Penn State's campuses. So it's very important that this office be supported and that there also be information given on scholarships and just the other resources that are provided in terms of their operational times and ways to communicate with them, involve themselves in the peer mentorship program and other student organizations to have the full student experience that they do deserve. With this, we are committing ourselves to plan and organize a webinar event hosted by Student Disability Resources involving the executive director and other members of the office to provide awareness of student disabilities and the resources available. So having a Q&A period and a presentation where we invite students to be part of this organization and seeing what they do. It also involves a social media campaign that highlights the work of the office, promotes the disability resources, and features statistics pertaining to disability equity to do everything in our power to close those gaps of inequity that may exist at Penn State. We really want to ensure that we are acting as advocates for every segment of the student body, and this does just that. I really want to thank Representative Kaler, Bose, Gibbard, McColgan, and Alexander for helping compile the research and making this what it is. I can't wait for the future and the collaborations that J&E and the UPUA has with these university offices that do serve these underserved populations. Thank you so much. And with that, I now stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Chair Rodriguez? All right, seeing no questions, is there any discussion? Any discussion?
Motion to pass unanimously.
Is there a second? Wow, I never thought that would come back. All right, so seeing many seconds. Is there any discussion on that motion so that I can recognize if anyone wants to vote differently? All righty, seeing no discussion and taking general consensus with it all, resolution 4915, support of student disability resources and a commitment to advocacy for students with disabilities, passes unanimously. And with that, we'll move on to a report by the Chief Justice of the Judicial Board, Chief Justice Saya.
Hey everyone, hope everyone's having a good week. Just some updates. We've been having the info sessions for the elections. They've been going well. We've been getting candidates and we still have the remaining ones coming up. The info is all in the newsletters and in the UPUA_elections Twitter and on the vote.psu.edu website. And we are still working with President Mckay and the Student Fee Board to have the correct budget based on the guidelines to make sure that everything's in place correctly. And with that, if anyone has any questions, floor.
Are there any questions for Chief Justice Saya? And while I'm waiting for questions, I also encourage all of you to repost the info session dates that are on the UPUA Instagram, just to spread the word as much as possible. I would love for people and the students of Penn State University Park to know that they can run for a position like this. But going back, are there any questions? Seeing none, we will now move on to executive reports. If you are an executive director and have a report, please raise your hand. All righty, seeing none, we'll keep moving forward with the report by the speaker, Speaker Zong.
Hi, everyone. Pretty quick this week. Some different pieces of legislation / like different projects that I've been working on. You can find them in the report. I attended the workshop yesterday with Blake and hosted by Executive Director Truesdale. Again, I do think it was an amazing opportunity to really, sit back and really have some time to myself, because I realized, a lot of us are probably very stressed and wound up, and we don't realize how much time we need to really just take a step back and just be in the present. I think it was really nice. I'll be reaching out to people who are there for some feedback if they have any, whether it is worthwhile to do potentially, as Chair Pathwell said, a future session, whether this is something we want to bring to future assemblies as well, or if it's something that we should maybe just keep on the back burner, or something that's cool that we can do once in a while versus being a high priority item for potentially future assemblies. So yeah, other than that, I have a few meetings. I have one with the signage committee with the Sustainability Institute about finalizing a signage for coffee cups on campus not being compostable. So if you didn't know that yet, throw your coffee cups in the trash can. Don't try to recycle them because it becomes contaminated. Right now, we don't have the resources on campus to recycle them. So those signs will be coming up soon, but just a reminder for you guys if you haven't seen that bit of news. Of course, I attended the ABTS meeting on Saturday, as President Mckay said. I'll be working with, I'll be doing a bit more research into the resolution that Rutgers proposed, and just seeing how we can really strengthen our advocacy again without putting different international Chinese students in danger. Other than that, I'm also hoping to, we might have found a lead with the Office of Financial Aid with a possible collaboration about funding UPUA members. I think it might be cool to reach out, and I've reached out already to the work study program director to see if maybe students can get paid as UPUA representatives under the community service work study program. It's very preliminary. I haven't gotten a response back yet. I'm really excited to see if this is an avenue we can potentially pursue, because I know that financial considerations can be a big barrier to running for UPUA, especially when you are spending 10-20 hours a week on this versus another part-time job, for example. So if you're interested in that, reach out to myself, reach out to Representative Zhao, reach out to Chair Rodriguez. I know they've been looking at some different ways to really fund students as well. I'm happy to keep everyone updated on that. Other than that, yeah, be sure to, again, share the info sessions. Be sure to attend one. If you are a new member to the UPUA, you need to attend one to be able to run as a representative. And then there's also a requirement this year to fill 30 signatures, which are just people who vouch for you as to run for a representative position. So don't do it last minute. You won't be able to get a lot of the materials in on time. But yeah, other than that, stay healthy, eat your vegetables, kids. That's it.
Are there any questions for speakers on? All right, seeing none, we will now move on to comments of the committee, starting with Academic Affairs, Chair Barungi.
Hi, everybody. Not too much from Academic Affairs today. Just want to let everybody know that this is the last day to register for the Line-Link Job Shadow experience. Over the next week, we're going to take everybody who's applied so far, match them with mentors, and the event will be taking place from March 1st to March 12th. So if you are interested in participating in that, getting the ability to shadow someone in your prospective job field, don't forget to register by 11:59 tonight. Other than that, see you at AAC on Sunday at 1 p.m. See you guys.
Are there any questions for Chair Barungi? Seeing none, we'll move on to facilities with Chair Jordan.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Jordan at large. A few updates. Just so everybody's aware, there is a new car share vendor. It's Zipcar. They currently have 4 cars on campus. So if you were perhaps to use that for some reason, it's going to be up and running in the next 2 weeks. And once there is graphics, I'll be sure to share them in our Teams channels, but exciting because we haven't had that for a little bit. With that, moving forward, transportation, the bike den is still in the works. The structure is all there, but just trying to finish up the last minute touches. Hopefully we'll be able to kind of see what's going to be happening in May. So once me and Vice Chair Gary get to go there and kind of look at it, we'll keep you guys updated. I know I mentioned this last week and I'll keep mentioning it, but hub space allocations for renewal of office spaces have been re-released. So if that pertains to you, please tell your whoever's in charge of their spaces to fill the application out because it does close at the end of February. The facilities reps who worked on the meal voucher initiative in the summer had a really great meeting with Anna Barone on Monday morning. Basically, we just kind of met to touch base. Our plan is set in place now to kind of help those students who may be in quarantine isolation relieve some of that stress with the Lion Cash gift cards. She gave us great statistics of kind of what the emergency fund has done already throughout the whole summer and last spring semester. I will be sure to share them with you guys in my next report. You can check that out next week. And that's kind of all for me right now. Facilities, I'll see you Sunday at 12.
Are there any questions for Chair Jordan? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Governmental Affairs with Chair Risser. Chair Risser. Representative Meter, if you have any updates. If not, I can just move on. I don't think he's on the call.
Sorry, I'm in like 2 meetings at once. I need to make sure I'm muted. Okay, yeah, so we don't really have that many updates. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. All right, we'll keep moving down the agenda with Justice and Equity. Chair Rodriguez.
Hello, hello, hello. Happy almost Thursday. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you all for assisting in the passing of the resolution in the bill tonight. Really much appreciated. And we're getting closer to our finalized goal in establishing the committee as a permanent force in the UPUA. So thank you all for your contributions gotten so far and so much more progress to go. Really just want to welcome Representatives Alexander and Gangle to the Committee on Justice and Equity. That is your new UPUA home. So excited to have you there. School supply packs are scheduled a little into mid-later February. As soon as we have those assembled, there will be a form released. Please be on the lookout for form time so we can have people gathered to assemble the items as quickly as we can. At some point, we will try to be reserving the office for those that are willing to come so we can have the max of 10, of course, socially distanced while forming these school supply packs. So please be on the lookout. We have our graphics already ordered and the marketing materials ordered. So that'll be picked up tomorrow at Staples. Met with the UHS director, Dr. Griffin today. Just want to say we had amazing progress. So I'm excited to share that in the future. I'm not sharing it now, but if you are interested, I am literally blackmailing you to come to Justice and Equity and spend your Friday night with us. Yeah, so if you want to know the big news, come on down at 4:30 to 5:30. It'll be a short kind of meeting and there will be surprise that we have in store for the representatives that attend. And of course, Chair Jordan and I finally heard back from the Public Art Committee on Wally Triple and Jesse Arnell and land acknowledgement plaques. We're setting up a meeting with them to kind of advance where we go on that. If you're interested, it's not too late. And then we have our banner mock-ups prepared for the Every Student Belongs Here initiative. So if you're interested in any of these, there's still time left to come to a Justice and Equity meeting to immerse yourselves in the intersectionality of our committee and also just to become involved with these really neat initiatives that hopefully will sustain themselves throughout the 16th Assembly. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your night and stay safe.
Are there any questions for Chair Rodriguez? All right, seeing none, we'll move on with Student Life with Chair Mishler.
Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. So first things first, no committee tomorrow. Committee is canceled tomorrow. I have an academic obligation as well as an extracurricular activity at the same exact time. So no committee. Please use that time to, sorry, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. It's fine. Dancing in Thon and things like that. I'm not dancing in Thon. Adeline's jacket. Check that out. Check that out. Okay. Yeah, use that time slot tomorrow to be in your teams. Feel free right now to text the people that you're working on initiatives and projects with and say, hey, want to jump on the call to, for 15 minutes tomorrow at 6? Because I know you're free because you'd be in committee. Just to, get something together quick for the weekend, cross off some action items. Awesome activity last week that the Student Life Committee team did, where we talked about like our life's greatest initiative that we could work on and how we could integrate that at Penn State. So awesome work. I'm going to shoot that in the team for everyone to see what people were talking about. It was really inspiring. So great work there. I just want to commend Kathy Zhao and all the people who helped with We Care. From the reports back to me, we have completely given out all the products, which is incredible. I'm not even sure how we did that, considering the state of remote affairs at Penn State, and awesome job. Great work. Everyone was super happy about that. Last week, I met with the president of Lions Pantry, Spencer Wallace, to form some partnerships in terms of getting our mutual aid and We Care products into Lions Pantry integrated in some way. He's totally on board, so we're going to do that as mutual aid comes along. As soon as I can figure out some of the financials, that will be happening, and you will be sure to see that on the social media. Great work happening. Shout out First Year Council for sure. Great work happening in mental health. We are just nailing down some of our final programming things. So I'm super excited. We have a lot on the docket. We're having to like pick and choose what we're doing. We have basically too much. That's a great problem to have. SF stuff, just some contracting things really in the nitty gritty. And the Roundtable is launching next week. That'll be in the newsletter. Check out the date so you can come out to the Roundtable and have meaningful conversations on sexual violence prevention here at Penn State. That would be super important for you to do. And of course, the Mental Health and Wellness Roundtable is this Tuesday, February 23rd at 11 a.m. I believe we're having a discussion on this week's topic is my roommate, mental health and it's mental health, of course, mental health and wellness, and also with a focus in gender identity and the kind of notions that play in there. So meaningful stuff happening. Come out and please engage in that conversation. Would love to share the updates of the bills that we put through at that roundtable. That would be a great resource and another way to start spreading that good news. Yes. And Student Support Network just met before this meeting. Great stuff. We are working on outreach and branding. Things are moving along so swiftly, so beautifully. I am so happy. There's so much to do and 1 month to do it in. It's crazy. It's crazy. My calendar is filled. We are getting a lot done. I can't wait for these next couple weeks. No committee tomorrow. Enjoy. We will check back. Check the teams for a few different things outstanding that you guys can get back to me. Reach out with any questions or anything like that.
All right. Are there any questions for Chair Mishler? All right. Seeing no questions, we'll move on to comments of the good of the order. Are there any comments for the good of the order? I'll just start off by saying thank you to the first year council members who made me Valentine's Day little cards. That was really sweet. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. Chair Jordan.
Chair Jordan at large. Yeah, I know that it's Thon weekend this weekend. So any of those who are involved in Thon, good luck. And we're here to support you guys if you need it anyway. But yeah.
Representative Robertson.
Hi, everyone. I have two things. One, I just wanted to say thank you again for passing the bill tonight. I'm incredibly excited to see where this can go. And I'll be sure to keep you all updated with like awareness campaigns, graphics, and all of that, probably in the GroupMe or on Teams or something. And then the second thing, kind of random, but I wanted to mention right now how it's petition season for candidates who want to run in the 2021 primary elections in Pennsylvania. Not too sure about other states, but if you know any candidates who you want to support in Pennsylvania for local offices or for seats in the judicial system, consider reaching out to those people, signing their petitions, circulating. Great way to stay civically engaged outside of that traditional election year. So just wanted to plug that as well.
All right, are there any other comments for the good of the order? All right, seeing none and knowing that Speaker Zong has taken closing roll call, I adjourn this meeting at 8:41 p.m. Have a wonderful night and a wonderful rest of the week.
Thank you, Vice President Pathical. Have a good one, everybody.
Guys,
Good to see
good
you.
everyone.